Welcome to the Happy Homeschooler Podcast, a digital support group for everyone interested in a learning lifestyle. I'm your host, Melody.
I'm your co-host, Holly.
Holly, today we're going to talk about getting back to school after a break. But before we do that, tell me, what have you been doing since we last talked?
Oh, my goodness. We have been busy with all kinds of holiday activities, putting up lights, decorating the house, going to see lights. We went to the Trail of Lights last night. It's a drive-through this year. And that was really fun. They had it all concentrated into one, like a smaller area. So when we drove into the park, it was so bright and it was so magical looking. It was really fun.
Oh, that's good. So not driving through neighborhoods. You have, like, your community has a
a nearby town has a Trail of Lights. Normally you walk through it, but this year it's a drive-through. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like our little town this year, instead of the parade being people sitting still watching the parade go by, the parade floats were stationary and the people drove through.
What an interesting idea.
Was a little different take on
I love
a parade.
The creativity that people are bringing to the restrictions we're under right now.
I do too. People are being creative, like ways to still celebrate. Put up the lights, find ways to get together without being too close to each other. What else have y'all done?
Oh, going shopping, getting things for gifts, shopping online mainly. And then I saw the funniest meme on Facebook. It said, if your package hasn't arrived, quit checking the tracking. It's too late now, or something. It's in God's hands. It made me laugh because
it'll get there when it gets there.
Yeah, because I have a package, an order that I placed on November 27th, and it hasn't moved to the post office yet, and I'm stressing out about it. But if that's my worst problem,
that's kind of
it's going to be all right. What have you been up to?
Not a lot. We've just been we haven't done as much this year as we usually do, but we have had some family gatherings. And so that was a lot of fun. Campfire, bonfires, and
nice.
Outside, and then just, getting together to eat and talk and laugh and talk and eat some more.
Yeah.
A lot of that, but work has been busy, so I'm actually glad to have a break now.
Sure.
And take care of some of the things I had on my list, but they haven't happened yet.
You just have to give it a lick and a promise and keep going on. Yep.
Every now and then we're looking around, it's like, where's this decoration? And did that not come out of the Christmas boxes? And I guess we'll put it up next year because I don't know where it is.
Yeah, all my decorating takes days to do. What used to be, I would do it in one night after my kids went to bed. When I had 5 kids, I was actually more efficient, I think. But with one kid, it just seems to take, I do a bit each day. And it's taken me a week to put up the outside decorations, and now we have rain. So it'll get done.
It'll get done. It's kind of fun that way. You can savor it. We put things up a little at a time, usually, as I have time in between all the other things I'm doing, which is just like life.
Right. Well, it's good if you have a break and you can do those things, and I think a lot of people are taking a break right now.
A lot of people are. I was listening to some moms last week who were talking about being glad to take a break, but not sure how they wanted to work their way back into their routine after the break. So it was interesting to hear those ideas. Some of them are going to jump right in. Some of them are going to ease their way in. So let's talk about that. That's something everybody's, either after your winter break or after your summer break, you're always facing that. How do we get going again?
The transition point.
Right. In my family, we have done that both ways. Sometimes we just picked right back up where we left off, but more and more I think we eased back in. Like we would start with, after Christmas, writing thank you notes, and that was part of our routine, getting out the pencil and start those writing activities again, because there were a lot, and for the little ones, that was a lot of writing.
Yeah, and little kids aren't big into writing.
So we would kind of ease back into the school things by doing that during our school time, and then, just pick up the load and get a little bit more each time. What are you planning to do this coming year?
Well, we started our break a couple days ago. We were going to go until the end of this week and then start our break on Monday. But, there were too many things to do, and we can always figure out a way to catch up on a couple little things we didn't finish. So we'll just, we'll probably start off with a full day just because a full day for us is maybe 2 hours.
Right.
So, we're second grade this year. But I know a lot of people who are changing, and they're busy. I've been mentoring a really neat gal named Lindsay, helping her, and she's changing from kind of like a workbook. She's been using Easy Peasy, and
the online,
Easy and Peasy. I guess she printed out a bunch of stuff too, but hasn't been too happy with it. It didn't suit her son very well, so she's changing to Ambleside online, which is Charlotte Mason method of education. And so she's been gathering all her materials, and I've been sharing my schedules with her, and we've been talking about how to do Charlotte Mason. So she's using her break, like she's having a working break, because she's using her break to prepare for the new semester. And I think a lot of people probably are doing that, especially if you just started homeschooling in August and you got a curriculum and you realize it's maybe not as suitable for your family as you thought. I think a lot of people are changing or starting homeschooling. I have a friend who just started about 2.5 weeks ago. She took her child out of public school and she started homeschooling.
I think it's a good time for that kind of reevaluation. Plus, you've been doing it for enough months to know what works and what doesn't.
Exactly.
And what you like and what you would like to improve. And so even a couple of breaks, it's still a break because you're not doing your normal routine or your normal planning. You're thinking about what else you might do, or you just have some downtime finally to do a little research.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where a lot of people are. So if you're switching gears, you probably do have to use your break to heavily prepare for getting back into the swing of things in January, whenever you're going to pick back up. We usually pick up after Epiphany. So after January 6th is when we'll start school.
We usually do the same. And if somebody needs a little extra time, it's fine. If you start 2 weeks, you don't have to necessarily start on January the 1st. You can give it a week or two. It's better to be prepared and then jump in. Yeah,
your schooling will go a lot better if you are well prepared when you get ready to start. It's not helpful, even if you are picking up where you left off and you know where all your books are. It's not helpful on the first day that you're getting back to lessons to be searching for everything and, well, where were we in this book? And kids can tell if you're not prepared, and they don't really respect what you're trying to do at that time.
Yep.
Yeah,
we always did. Just that whole time to stop and take a look at what we've done. How much more do we need to do to get to where we want to be at the end? Maybe we adjust our expectations a little bit. We also always have a big, deep clean that goes on after Christmas. We're taking everything down and reorganizing. And sometimes that's just part of getting back into the break, is reorganizing things and putting things back where they go. And
particularly during the holidays, things can get mislaid because you're moving something. You want to decorate this one table or this shelf, and you take something and put it somewhere else. In the past, I'm not doing it this year, but in the past, anything I cleared off of a table, I would put in the box that had the holiday decorations in it. So that when I would get ready to go put the holiday decorations back in the box, I found the things I had moved. This year I just picked my guest room, which we're not having guests right now because it's a pandemic. So my guest room has become like a warehouse for the rest of the house.
Your decorator's closet.
Right, yeah. So that's where all the pictures and things that I took down to make way for holiday decorations are living right now. It's really a nightmare in there.
Still, it's not a bad thing to see everything all at once and then go through, and things end up in different and new places when you come back. But for us, it was always the crafting items that ended up, someone's got a secret surprise for someone, and so those supplies end up in the bedroom, and then not everything gets back where it goes, and we just take stock and kind of reorganize things before we get going, and or as we get going. That's just part of the housekeeping when we get started again.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is, what is working that we want to keep curriculum-wise, and what do we want to change, and what do we want to change to, and then, getting the kids' input on how's it going, what areas are working well for you, what would make it work better, getting some of their input. It's just a good downtime is always a good time to have those discussions.
It is. And when you say also evaluating, evaluating your household routines.
Absolutely.
Did they work? Is getting up at this time working? Is, going to these classes working? All those kind of things that when they're working well, your day moves seamlessly. And when they're not, you just seem to run into snags everywhere you go.
That's true. That's so true. And even if you're a person that's not naturally inclined to lists or routines, you might find that they really can free up some time for you to do all the more creative things you want to do because the basics are taken care of. Exactly.
And you don't have to think about them over and over again. I found that once you do things like that, it's kind of automatic. Like you don't have to really think about it, and thinking about what to do and when takes up a lot of time.
Lots of time.
Yeah. So during your break, if you're switching gears and you're evaluating everything, that's a good time to do it. I mean, your schedule's not going to be the same because it's the holidays, but you will get a good idea of what was working and what wasn't working. What do I want to change? Things that irritate you, I call that my punch list. The things that irritate me, I just kind of keep them. I either write them down or they're just in the back of my mind. But, for example, if you're always trying to find your materials, that kind of tells you that you haven't found a place to keep them where you can access them and put them back. So that would be something on my punch list, because looking for your materials takes up too much time. So, figuring out what worked, what didn't, figuring out when you want to get back to school. All these kinds of things are good to do during your break.
I agree. We're going to take a short break to hear a word from our sponsor, and when we return, we'll talk more about ways to get back into school after a holiday break.
Our podcast today is sponsored by Transcript Maker. Transcript Maker is part of the Homeschool Connect Expo.
Tell us what that is.
The Homeschool Connect Expo is a virtual homeschool conference that people can attend. So just like you would normally go to a homeschool conference, this way you can go to it, again, from the comfort of your own home.
Oh, yes, with the internet.
With the internet.
On your computer. Well, I guess on your phone or anything.
Yeah, it's set up for you to attend it from any device that accesses the internet. So that's cool. You can do it from your phone, your tablet.
That's so handy. So we have a booth there. What will people find in our booth?
Well, our booth is chock full of all kinds of helpful information. We've got our videos that talk about how to create transcripts, what to put on transcripts. We've got a link to our ebook, The Ultimate Guide to Creating a Homeschool Transcript. We have also got, and this is so generous and fun, a 20% off code. So you can go to our booth and get 20% off your Transcript Maker subscription.
Oh, that's really generous. That's really nice. So go to the booth and find the code. What else do they want to do?
Well, first of all, you want to get to the Homeschool Connect Expo. Okay. That's www.homeschoolconnectexpo.com, and then create your free account so you can go to all the booths.
Oh, right. Not just ours.
Well, go to ours first.
And then... okay, so you said it was free, and how long will it be available?
It is ongoing through 2021.
All year.
All year.
Oh, that's really good. I think that's especially nice this year when there's so many. We aren't traveling, we aren't going anywhere, so you can still get out, find the information.
And it's wonderful for people who are just starting to homeschool, because, a lot of homeschool conferences happen in the summer, and if you decide to homeschool after they're done,
at Christmas,
you're out. You don't get to go to a homeschool conference. But this way, you can go to a homeschool conference all year. So whether you decide to visit our booth at the Homeschool Connect Expo or go to our website at www.transcriptmaker.com, either way you can get a 14-day free trial, give us a test drive, and see how we work.
Transcript Maker. Simply better transcripts. All right, let's get back into our discussion about getting back to school after a holiday break. One of the things we always started off with at some point during that break was sitting down with my calendar and my planner and looking ahead to the next few months to see what was the next most important thing, and planning the holidays that are coming up, and just getting different events on the calendar, because, taking one off the wall, putting the other one up, or getting a new 2021 planner, and there are all the things that need to be put in there. What is your typical routine for getting that started?
It's similar. In August or September, I buy a teacher planner, and it goes through to the next year.
So you buy an August to May.
I do. I think it's August to August or August to July.
Okay.
But anyway, I always sit down with it and I put in everything for the whole year. But then, life happens and you have to go back over. So, for instance, I thought we would be further ahead with our math than we are. So I have to reorganize where we are and what we're going to get done. Now it looks like math will probably go through the end of June, which won't make my son too happy unless we speed up a little bit. And some lessons are absorbed more easily than others.
That's true. And sometimes you can sneak in a lesson without it even seeming like a lesson and do 2 in one day.
Yeah, sneaky homeschooling. I love it. So I'm going to have to reevaluate some of the things about where we are. And then I think I already had plugged in the spring break, which, spring break, we always take our spring break when the public school does. Not because we're on their schedule, but because some of the friends we have are in public school.
Same for us.
And that allows my son to have some more opportunities with his friends. We have done a lot of outdoor things with our little group of friends. And so if they're off and we're off, we could maybe, go to a park and have a little play date or something like that. But if we're doing school while they're off, well, that's not very helpful.
No, it doesn't mesh very well.
So that won't change. But there are other things, like maybe there are some opportunities that have come up that you didn't have in the fall that you want to incorporate in the spring semester. So you will have to add those in and then figure out how that all plugs together. And so even if you planned ahead of time like I did, my very hopeful, idealistic planning, then reality hits and I have to make some course corrections for the rest of the school year.
Right. Well, you have to start somewhere. You can always make adjustments, which we did all the time, make adjustments. But then new events are on the calendar that I didn't know about at the beginning of the school year.
Right.
And we just have to sit down and kind of adjust things to what has actually happened and see what needs to be changed.
Right. And if you have a plan, it's easier to adjust it than to create something on the fly, which is what makes homeschooling hard. If you don't have a plan and you're just doing something every day by the seat of your pants, you're going to feel really stressed and frustrated. Whereas if you have a plan and you need to adjust one component of the plan, at least everything else is already in place. You've got a framework.
Right. Well, you lose momentum if you don't have a plan. If you know what you're doing, you can just jump in there. It's like having your routine. It just keeps going and you get things done just because it's time to do the next thing and you know what the next thing is, so you pull it out and pop it in.
Yeah, so now's a good time to gather all those planning materials. If you need a new calendar, if your kid needs a calendar, it's really good to teach kids to use planners as well, so they can learn that skill and be responsible for themselves. So everybody in our family, everybody gets a calendar at Christmas.
Oh, same for us. And they love their calendars, and they sit, they usually have them up someplace. Well, my kiddos shared rooms, but they all had a spot in the room that was their spot. And those calendars would go up there, and then they would, fill them full of all the things that were going on. Some of them like to use the calendar to mark events, and some of them didn't want to mess it up because they like the pictures.
Oh, sure.
And then it was interesting to watch. Those natural planners were filling theirs up, and the ones who are not naturally planners were just admiring the picture. But we did use it as a tool to learn how to make plans. And we also have a family calendar.
Oh, yes.
And everybody knows if it's not written on the family calendar, as far as I'm concerned, it's not
happening.
A thing at all. And so they know to put it on the calendar. And this last month, we had a lot of things going on, or people. I'm fortunate to live near my adult children, and I get to have the grandchildren over quite often. There were a lot of moving parts this year where I had to keep asking, like, what day did you need me to watch them while you ran to do this? And it wasn't written on the calendar.
You're sunk.
Oh, go write it down.
Yeah, that's another thing is that, you have your long range planning, and then you need your micro planning, so that like maybe designate a day, maybe on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, you sit down and you get all that stuff on the calendar. And one of the things that's important to put on the calendar are any dates you need to handle memberships. So if your kid is in Scouts, or you are buying a membership for some kind of a children's museum, or things that have to be renewed, all those things you want to plan for that too, because there's nothing more disappointing than missing a deadline, or if there's a special discount and you didn't pay for your membership by that time. So I write everything on the calendar. At the end of the year, when I look back, I think, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff on there. But I can't keep it all in my brain. And I don't know, I'm just going to say, I don't think it's a good idea to try to keep all that stuff in your brain.
No, there's other stuff that needs to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, it's like a brain dump where it all goes onto the calendar, so I don't have to.
You don't have to remember it, for sure.
You know, that can be your paper calendar, or you can use your devices, but I like having alerts that will remind me that.
Oh my goodness, you know, yes. Set up all your alerts too. That's right. Yeah, I always tell my husband, use the technology that's at your disposal.
Make your life easier.
Make your life easier. What do you say? You'll thank your future self. I always love that.
Be nice to your future self.
Be nice to your future self.
So we do the same thing. And then also our community plans the next semester for co-op, or we plan the next semester for whatever summer activities are coming up. We do all those kinds of things, but there's a lot of planning meetings. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure you get those things on there too.
Right. And you don't want your kids to be disappointed because you didn't plan ahead and they miss out on something because it wasn't on the calendar and you didn't meet a deadline.
Oh, that's right.
And by March, a lot of the summer things are starting to circulate and you need to sign up for them. So, if there's a date to sign up for something, get it on your calendar now. You're going to have a much better school year with all that stuff written down, and then you won't have to remember it. One of the other things I like to do heading back into the new school year is to prep some meals ahead of time.
That's a great idea.
Prep some breakfast, prep some dinners. I even like to make a whole loaf of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and throw them in the freezer.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Are those not soggy when they thaw out?
This is the best tip. Now, this is not my original tip. I learned it from a blogger, Money Saving Mom. I thought, this is amazing. My kid eats a peanut butter and jelly sandwich just about every day. So I tried it. You make the sandwiches per normal, put them in the freezer.
Even with the jelly?
Even with the jelly. And, well, you've heard of Lunchables.
Well, yeah.
It's similar. Yeah, it's
yes,
similar. Because I thought the same thing. Oh, my goodness. Well, they already have them in the freezer at the store.
Yes, they do.
So anyway, you just make your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I put a little piece of wax paper in between each one. So I take out a whole loaf of bread. I make it all into peanut butter and jelly. Yep. And then I put it back in the bread bag, put the twisty tie, throw it in the freezer. And then the night before, so even though we homeschool, I like to get school lunches made. So the night before, I put a sandwich in the little reusable sandwich box and put it in the fridge. And when he's ready to eat it, it's perfect. And everybody I've told this has said, oh my gosh, it's so revolutionary. My niece is making weeks worth of peanut butter and jelly for her kids. It's super easy and you don't have to think about it. We also buy, so I know some people say, don't buy individually packaged items. And if you have a big family, it's not efficient.
It's not cost effective.
But because I only have one little person, I buy all kinds of individually packaged items, and then I'll tell him, you get your sandwich, pick out a bag of chips or get a granola bar and crackers, whatever. He knows what he's allowed to have. And then he puts it in his lunchbox, and when it's time to eat lunch, he just gets his lunchbox and he can eat lunch.
That's such a great idea, because you could also use that if you suddenly needed to leave the house. You could grab a few sandwiches and off you go.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Anybody could get in there and get
I mean, even grown-ups like peanut butter and jelly. Yeah, so, and I like to make those meals that you can prep up and bake ahead of time, like baked oatmeal for breakfast.
Oh, right.
The breakfast kind of things, things.
We used to always make extra pancakes or extra waffles and freeze them, because then you can just pop them in the toaster.
Because it's so time consuming to get started.
Oh,
so you might as well just make extra. I'll spend some time on the weekends making oat waffles. And again, just pull them out of the freezer and give it a little microwave or whatever, you're ready to go. So it's only, to make a whole loaf of peanut butter and jelly maybe takes 15 minutes. And to get all the stuff out and make one sandwich probably takes 5.
So saving time and
saving time and using your ingredients more efficiently, because I actually measure with the measuring spoon. But same thing with meals. Make we like this Mexican lasagna. Make a Mexican lasagna ahead, or make a regular lasagna, or make shepherd's pie. Whatever y'all like to eat.
Right, or double a recipe and freeze.
Yeah,
we've done that. And the other thing is just making a plan.
Well,
for your
yes,
week.
make a meal
I mean,
plan.
that's not what we're talking about today, but having
Right.
a plan for the week, and then your groceries run is more efficient.
And you don't have to think at the end of the school day when you're so brain fried, oh, what am I going to make for dinner? Which is what I've been doing the past couple weeks. And I'm telling you, I'm kicking myself for not making more time to plan ahead.
Question. What's for supper tonight in the morning after breakfast? Because then if it needs to be thawed, I can get it out then. Or if it needs to be thrown in the crock pot, get it out then.
Yes, I haven't been doing a good job. So in the new year, I want to get back to doing really good meal planning because it's stressful. And then we eat dinner later. You know, it makes everything go
right
so much longer than it has to. Whereas if I had planned ahead and I could just pop something in the oven, or like you said, I'll go scoop it out of the crock pot.
Right.
Speaking of the crock pot, I also like to make steel cut oats in the crock pot at night. And then you get up in the morning, you have a nice, hot, delicious breakfast waiting for you.
We do that where you put apples in there and cinnamon, and your house smells so good when you get up in the morning and it's already ready. The crock pots are really handy.
They're super handy. I haven't tried an Instapot, but I know a lot of people like those.
It's on my list.
I'm a slow cooker, not a fast cooker. But yes, you want to do things that make your life easier so that you can have more availability for your homeschooling. Because homeschooling is a full-time job. Right. And so anything you can do to make all the other periphery things easier makes your job as a homeschool parent easier.
It's true, if it's part of the routine. Because that was one of our routines. On Wednesday, I would plan the next week's meals. And then at that time, it was Wednesday because Friday was a shopping day. But our day is different now. But anyway, you know, that way when that week's meals were at the end, the next one was already ready and all the ingredients were there. I'd like to get into prepping things when I get them home from the grocery store, but that hasn't quite happened yet, where I'll like wash all the vegetables and trim them and chop them and all that. Haven't done all that yet, but I'm sure it would be amazing.
My husband eats a lot of salad, and so I joke around with him that he buys $5 a salad a day. And sometimes it's kind of close to that. If he can't find a salad, he likes to look for the markdowns because they're still fresh and good that day. But I thought, wouldn't it be smart if on the weekend I chopped a whole bunch of kale and cabbage and all the things that we like in our salads, and then we just had a big bowl of salad to scoop out during the week.
Awesome.
So I'm telling myself this, everybody. I've got to do it too.
Well, expect an update in a few months, right?
Oh my goodness, the pressure is on now.
Will that work? Okay, so meal planning and planning. Another thing that we do at this time of the year, or I did, was kind of start planning for the next year, because I could already tell about where we were going to end up, and would start scouting out what materials we might need for the next year, so that, of course, this was then when the book fairs happened, which were usually in April or May, I would already know what I was looking for.
Well, the other important part about that is if you think you're going to homeschool for 2021, 2022, which seems like it's really far away, when you know already what you need and you see a great deal pop up on your local list, snag it. I have math for the next 2 years because I was watching. I know what we're going to be doing, and I was watching for it, and I grabbed it as quick as I could. And so that will help you immensely because, boy, talk about being able to plan ahead when you have materials on hand already for the next year or two.
And when you know what you like, you can watch out for it. That's where those, the community groups where someone's finishing up with something and you can get it from your friend comes in so handy.
Right. So I get excited about the new semester. I've had a break. A little time to rest and relax, and then get excited about what we're going to be doing the next, next fall, 5 months or so, and thinking about, are we going to keep schooling like a school year calendar? Are we going to try year-round schooling? I still haven't done it.
Not yet.
But this is always a good time to evaluate all those things and get ready and fresh to go in January.
I think breaks are important. They give us a well-needed rest or a change in the routine.
Yeah, that change.
And then we're glad to get back. It is. Glad to get back in the swing of things and jump in and get ready to go. Can you think of any other things that you do to get ready to go again?
Well, you know what? One of the things I do is I talk to my son about when we're going to get back to school, because kids
just
really
him.
Kids really like breaks.
Yes, they do.
They, and my son cracks me up because he'll say, "Oh, I hate doing school," and I say, "What is so awful about this story that we're reading?" In fact, he has been badgering me. It's super funny. We had started reading Robin Hood, and we stopped, and we need to finish it. And he said, I don't know why we're not reading it. We need to read it. So he's badgering me about reading this book, which is actually on a list of books to read for school. So when he complains about school, I think, are you serious? Because you're badgering me to read this book we're supposed to read already. What he doesn't like is having to take time out of his day of building Lego and watching Minecraft video. Yeah, playing Minecraft. To do math, right. Yeah, that's what he doesn't like. But when we actually get started doing the things and he's doing a good job at it, he's having a good time. But, you need to prepare your kids because they like their breaks. And
well, they like to know what's going on. Knowing what's coming up is important.
Right.
And they're not surprised by it. And also, just as far as arranging your day, knowing that you can get those things out of the way and work toward the things you enjoy makes it a little bit...
It's more palatable.
Yeah, a little bit more fun. Get things done. Get that thing you don't like out of the way and then do something fun.
Yeah. Last night I told my son he had to clean up this area in his room that was very messy before he could get up and watch Saturday morning TV. We allow him to have Saturday morning cartoons. So he watches Netflix or YouTube videos, which is mainly what kids seem to like watching. And he was very put out and he was angry and he thought it was going to take forever. And then when I got up this morning, he'd already cleaned it up. I went to check and he was watching his Saturday morning shows. And I said, "How long did that take?" He said, like about 10 minutes. I said, "So you got grumpy and fussy over something that took you 10 minutes. I said, "You know what? If you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't." And all you had to do was say, when I told you, "Oh, I can get that done," and you would have felt much better about it. But you went to the negative thinking. So, just paving the way for them and saying, we're going to go back to school on this day.
Right.
We need to accomplish these things before we start school. For example, cleaning out your room because you just got a bazillion new toys. We need to get ready so everybody's ready. Kids have a part in that too. So just getting them on board and helping them to see what you're going to be doing. Talk about, we're going to have spring break at this date. What do you want to do for spring break? Then they can also look forward to the new school year. Instead of, it's like you're bringing down a hammer on them. We're starting back to school. Kaboom. Fun's over. Kaboom.
Hopefully it is enjoyable and they're missing it because you know how once you get out of your routine, you look forward to going back to that. But all that good training, that's just teaching calendar use and how to plan and life skills that they need.
Right.
In a really life-focused way, just as part of everyday life.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that if we all follow these tips, if I follow my own advice, I'll be ready for the next bit of school. We do trimesters, so we're actually in the second of our 3 trimesters. That's just the way we do 3 12-week periods of school. So we're on our 16th week of the second trimester. But
do you stop and evaluate between trimesters, or do you just jump right into the next one?
We just pretty much jump right in. But I've been doing.
You planned it out.
Yeah, I've been doing Charlotte Mason with the Ampleside online curriculum for a long time, because I did it with my other kids, which is funny because they still had materials left over, like some poems that I had printed out for them, because it's a cyclical curriculum. So it was still going to be there for that level that he's in. So I was like, oh great, I can just pull this out. I already had, because I save everything.
Yes,
I save everything. So yeah, I think that we'll all be ready after the break. Be ready to jump back in if we incorporate these tips.
At this time in our podcast, we usually answer a big question. But since this is the last episode for 2020, we want to take this time to thank you, our listeners, for joining us.
We do. Our listeners have helped this podcast grow immensely this year, and we couldn't have done it without them.
No, it's been great to have some interaction between us and some of the listeners.
And we're looking forward to serving you more in 2021.
Right. If you have questions or comments, please send them to us on Twitter @_homeschoolpod.
Or email us at happyhomeschoolpod@gmail.com.
Or look for us at facebook.com/happyhomeschoolpod. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Melody.
I'm Holly.
Happy homeschooling. Hi, this is your host, Melody Gillum. Thank you for listening to the Happy Homeschooler Podcast, a Transcript Maker Production. My co-host is Holly Williams Urbach. This episode was produced by Matthew Bass and edited by Norah Williams. Our graphic design is by Pete Soloway, and our music is by the Great Pangolin. You can find her music on YouTube and Twitter at Kylie Wins. That's Kailey Wins. If you'd like to help our podcast grow, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. Or, as always, tell people about us. I'm your host, Melody.
I'm your co-host, Holly.
How are you, Holly? Today we're going to... Never mind. I'm going to start over.